Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Self-Care Sunday. Welcome to Elisa Marie Designs. I'm Elisa. I'm the curator of this channel, and I'm happy to have you here, especially with all the things that I do on this channel. Self-Care Sunday is just one of my favorite things. I was a yoga teacher. I still am, but I had a practice that I did every Sunday morning, yin practice at a studio, and I miss it so much. So this is, gives me good feelings to be here with you on a Sunday morning. Even if I'm taping this the day before, which I am, I still go over my Self-Care Sunday on Sunday like you, and I do everything that I am gifting to you that I know, to help you come back to your senses, especially during this time of year when everything is, we can just kind of take flight with all the seasons, festivities and activities and shopping and anticipation for the day and the holiday and the parties. But we can also take flight where we just totally are like, oh, leave me alone for a second. I was like that a few minutes ago. I just asked my husband, you have to leave the house. I performed a sort of exorcism and was like, you have to leave the house. You have to go. He's like, no, I'll just sit here quietly and read. I'm like, no, you will not. I know you will not. I need this time I need the quiet space. And we were kind of in a nesting mode the past few days, especially yesterday. We've got so much done in our home where things are just like kind of like dropping. They're like, oh, it's in our hands and it just falls, and it was like, we're really getting buried under here, especially at my own desk. I have just sprawled out, and I know that if this was my husband, and he, he is sneaking little things back down here again, but if it was his craft, which is a musician, and there are times that he goes out for a gig and he comes home and the speaker and the guitars and the microphones and this, like, everything just lands in the living room, and I'm like, no, it has to go. This is our living space. So even I was, creeping into our living space, and I just was like, and I was happy that he was here because he's at work and he loves being home and he loves doing this stuff with me and not having it all be on my shoulders all the time to keep the, he says maintain the house, but for me, it's maintaining the energy of the house, right? Just like our own bodies get kind of congested and clogged and we feel heavy and weighted down, so does the home. And then there are areas that just don't flow. And for me, being the type of artist that I am, when I need to create things around me that are in front of me, they kind of like distract me, which if you watched my video, I believe the last one that I did, I was telling you how, like, I took the borders off my canvas and I don't use a cover minder because all those things are just so distracting to my eye. And, it was practicing diamond painting that I realized, like, these are all so pretty. And I'm trying to get something here for you guys to see. They're all so pretty and all, but I'm trying not to burn myself with the candle too. Like, I have this jar here with a lid, and so like my little cover minders are on here. So this was the beginning, and I'll get something else that has like a metal background that I can actually look at my cover minders and appreciate them. And I think I'm going to turn my little hourglasses upside down also. And I'm wondering right now while I turn this one. You better quiet down, quiet down. So, Self-Care Sunday. I always wish I knew what I was going to use as a thumbnail for my Self-Care Sundays, because I think it's so important that you kind of flow from your thumbnail into your video, but I just never know. I don't know until after I create the video, and then something as I'm talking to you guys is like, oh, that's what I want for a thumbnail, but it's like, it doesn't flow right into the video. But anyway, what I was thinking about this week was the summer solstice, and I had really wanted to do a video on Thursday during the summer solstice, but it didn't work out that way, and that's okay. The same thing with crimson. I'm under all this pressure to get my diamond painting done for Christmas, and tomorrow's the eve, and John and I are hosting. So, you know, my desk is clean and cleared for whatever I'm going to be putting on this beautiful desk, and maybe, you know, some hors d'oeuvres and some like little pickies before we go into the kitchen to have our 7 fishes meal. But you know, she's not going to get done. And I think I was getting crimson fatigue anyway. I kind of started this journey with diamond painting to not buy another diamond painting until I get one done, but I'm getting fatigue from it, and I really want to switch off. I'm longing to do the other diamond paintings that I started, and I'm like, you know, Crimson, I wanted you to debut for the holiday, and I don't know, she might debut before New Year's. I don't know, I might just have a different thought by the time this airs. But yeah, so forgive and let go. You know, the best laid plans don't always work out, and that's okay, and I'm just not going to put myself under that pressure. So with the winter solstice on December 21st, which was Thursday, it is the longest night. Or no, well, I kind of think it's kind of like a balance, an even balance. But it also marks our return to the sun. So in your area, if you look at when the sunrise and the sunset are, you'll see that every day you're going to be getting a little bit more light. So it is our return back to the sun. And it got me thinking, like, not just our own inner sun and our own, because light is represented by sun and by fire, but not just returning back to like the earth orbiting around earth, making an orbit closer to the sun, but also our own internal fire, our own internal sun, our own internal light. And the winter, during this time when nature is dormant and we're indoors more, and it seems to be a heavier season. Well, it is a heavier season if you're in my part of the hemisphere, where I'm on the northeast side. And you know, today, you know, I don't know what it is today. It's just gray outside, you know, but it could be 65 degrees outside. You know, it's just December. I got married in December, and my husband was freaking out. I'm like, listen, I've never had a white Christmas. I don't know what the hell and what anybody is singing about, because even if you do have a little bit of snow on Christmas Day, you know, it's like a little flutter. So in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever had a white Christmas. We're going to be fine. It's going to be hot. We're going to be dancing outside of the venue. And we were. We were. It was, I don't even know what the temperature was, but it was warm. Anyway, so the solstice, the winter solstice, is a great time to begin thinking about returning to the indoors and making plans to return back to the light, to the activities that go on outside. So how do we plan for that? And there's all these rituals that you can do to celebrate the winter solstice and honoring what the dark shows us. So what light we find in the dark. And it doesn't have to be anything, you know, heavy. You can go and deep dive into this. And it is a good time to deep dive into this because, again, we are indoors more. You know, the weather sometimes prohibits us from going outside, not just the light. It is a wetter, damper, heavier time of year, and it can make us feel the same way. It can make us, you know, feel down. It can make us feel heavier, sluggish, our energy. So little ways of igniting that fire to keep it stoked and not have it go out, I think, is the best way of honoring the solstice. I have some notes in front of me because it's so important to me. I don't like reflecting back on notes, but my videos when it comes to crafting and stuff I'm more in the moment. and I'm more stream of consciousness. You know, you guys see that I get distracted by the cat and by anything else that's going on in my life, but this is so important to me. So I don't want to distract you by reflecting back to my notes, but it's so important that I give you all. So December 21st does mark the longest night of the year, and from this date forward, the days begin to lengthen as the Earth orbits once again, draws us closer to the sun. So some of the winter solstice rituals are created to create space for us. So, you know, I was reading something about rituals and, you know, honoring the dark and what light the dark can show us. And I don't know, I just had this instant flash in my head was, you know, one of the favorite things that I like to do, and it's part of my Artist Way tool, is to take a walking meditation. And I love this time of the year to take an early evening walking. This is why I need my notes. Early evening walking meditation, because you can look at all the holiday lights. So the backdrop of the dark and this is the light, and you can take that in and it can lift your spirits. A nice brisk walk or a leisurely walk in the early evening, just to lift your spirits with the holidays and see how people decorate. And it also stokes your creative fire. So your creative fire not only is to inspire and create, but it's also a transformation. It could be a transformational fire that helps you release and burn and let go of the energies that are no longer, or patterns in your life that are no longer serving you. So we want to keep that fire stoked. And I think in my own practice, I tend to move with the season. And that was something that I had to figure out for myself too. You know, being a teacher, and then you teach vinyasa, and then you teach yin, then you teach restorative. And then I only really felt ignited and lit up when I was doing the practices that were more close to the ground. Because this is a grounding time of the year. Nature goes dormant, it hides, it goes underneath the earth, and it is a wetter, heavier, sluggish time. And so it kind of just pushes you down to the earth. The atmospheric pressure pushes you down to the earth. And here comes Foofy. and so it's a great time to just go with it. Go with it. Don't fight it. During the winter months when I'm doing a vinyasa practice, no candle lit here, no cat. During the winter months when I would do a vinyasa practice, it would take me longer to like even do it. My arms would just feel so heavy. It's like, inhale, bring your arms up, exhale down, inhale, come up. And I had changed a full sun salutation to a half one, because I could see the sluggishness in my students also. And it's the pressure. So you can ignite the fire in these more restorative practices during this time of the year. And then I didn't like either that once maybe I did get a flow, you know, because I'm the teacher. And so like you have this pressure on you, and it's like, you know, your students could be sluggish, and you could tell them, you know, if you want to take a child's pose and you want to lay down, you could do that. But you as the teacher, it's like you got to be on. And then, you know, so your mind is writing the script. And so I'm writing a script that, you know, I can do this, and let me just, you know, help my students along. But I certainly didn't like the fire that I stoked during the winter time with a more yang practice. It always made me feel anxious afterwards, and it can do that because you're not really going with the if you study, or if you even know anything about Ayurvedic medicine, it's more of the dosha is more kapha dosha, right? Yeah, it's more kapha dosha. So you just kind of go with it. You just kind of go with the flow of the season. So light is often, again, represented by fire, by the sun, and our own transformative fire, Agni, and I'll write that down below for you, can create and can also destroy. And I was looking for rituals that would kind of help you balance those two energies out. So creatively, it can ignite our passion for new beginnings. So new projects, new starts. It ignites my fire when I get a new journal. It ignites my fire when I get a new diamond painting. Like I was saying earlier, like I'm getting a little bit sluggish with the diamond painting that I'm doing. So creatively, it can ignite your fire to start something new, and it can also burn up those old patterns that are like, we kind of, I don't want to say that we intentionally keep practicing our bad habits, right? Because I can certainly do that, but we know it doesn't take that long to develop a habit. So one of the ways that you can take this time to say, well, I'm going to honor this fire within me creatively, but what I would like to transform, and you can write down maybe some new things that you want to begin. Maybe you want to begin. They're just suggestions. Don't look at them as a to-do list. Suggest. This is what lights my fire. And then maybe make a list of some things that you would like to see burn up. And journaling is a great tool during this time to really get down the emotions, the relationships, whatever it is. And then once you get those things down, just take the page and burn it outside safely. And that's like a ceremonial thing that you can do to say, like, I'm releasing this old energy into the fire, so that it may be transformed into that, so that it will give me space, one, and that it will be transformed and give me the space for what is coming at me now that I've let go of this stuff. And it's very powerful. I say this all the time because I've witnessed it in my own life, and I've actually thought about changing. If you follow my channel, you know that I'm starting the Artist Way on January 1st, because that's what I've always done. New year, new beginning. But my beginning started a while ago. And I think that the Winter Solstice is a great time to begin the Artist Way, to use the journaling as a ritual to honor that creative fire, the light and the dark, and begin that journey, because it is really, it's a 12-week journey. And if you think about it, 12 weeks, that's basically the winter. And you could come out of this with a whole new spring renewal. So, and then I also think about that 3 months of the year are already burned up, right? It's like we start this on, if I started this on the solstice, and then, I'm just getting into the juice of it by the time the new year comes, and, you're ringing in the new year with already a good amount of information. The foundation of the Artist Way would certainly be cemented, and then you're on your way. And so as I was writing this morning, I'm like, I think what I'm going to do next year is I don't think I know. I know I'm going to start this now on the solstice and make this one, not only journaling as a ritual, but also for my own journey and keeping that fire stoked during the winter months. Another simple winter solstice ritual is a candle gazing meditation, and which is why I have a candle lit. So meditation asks you to look or to gaze into a candle for as long as you can without blinking. And the candle is eye level, mine certainly is not, but to just kind of fall into a meditation by watching a candle flicker. And if your eyes begin to tear, in again the Ayurvedic tradition, it's symbolic that you are releasing the energies through a cleansing through your eye. But certainly if you're looking at this candle and you need to blink or close your eyes, then you close your eyes and you imagine that the flame is still flickering in your third eye in between the eyebrows. And then you probably will even see it from staring at the candle. You know, when you close your eyes, you see that image, and then that of what you were staring at. But once that image begins to fade, you can open your eyes again and you can begin to look at the candle, continue the meditation. And you can do this for 2 minutes. You could do this for as long as you like. Some people like the relaxation quality, the heat of the meditation. It's like a slightly, I think because you are looking at the candle and it's up at eye level, there is some heat that might be throwing off from the candle. But it's also, it's so funny because even if I buy one of those, which I do have on my piano, I have those little flickering candles, just lighting them. And that's one of my own personal rituals. I didn't incorporate that into this talk until just now, thinking about it. But my own personal ritual with a candle is using an electric candle. And I do this in 2 different times. So during this time of the year, I take all my ancestors that have passed on and I create a little altar, and I try and write a story about each one. Now, I may not have known them, but I've heard stories, or I try and find similarities between myself and them. And, talk to your ancestors. Listen, I do think that they say also the veil between the 2 worlds is very thin during this time. And I don't know, is it our ancestors talking back to us? But I certainly believe that when you ask, you receive. It's something, it's someone. So, or maybe it's just the own story that you've conjured up in your mind about who this person was. But I create a little ancestral altar. And when I go over to my piano to put my little electric candle on, this little flicker, it just gives me a warm and cozy feeling. I used to keep one in my bag. I wanted to freeze this once I was watching it back, and I was remembering also that not just the candle, but also I think that's why some of these little fireplace videos on YouTube are so popular, is because they give a warm and cozy feeling also. Bedroom when I was single, and just turning it on at night in the darkness of my room gave me a warm and cozy feeling, this little flickering light. So that's what I mean about it. I guess it's my own experience of it being a warming meditation. The second time that I do use these candles in my own personal rituals is when someone has passed on. And the last time that I had to do this was I lost my dad, John lost his mom, and I didn't discuss this with him because grief is, of course, different for everyone, and the best thing that you can do when someone is grieving is just be there. And the worst thing that you can do, and I don't mean any disrespect, is say to someone, I know how you feel, because you will never know how that person feels. Even if you have identical experiences, you will not know how they feel. You have not had the experience of their relationship with whatever their loss is, a loved one, or a pet. You don't know. And so the last time that I did this was my own, I couldn't bear to do this with my dad or my husband's mother. We weren't married at the time. We were just dating. But his mom and I were like, my husband says to me, the greatest joy that he has is that I got to know his mother. And he's like, the two of you were just so funny together. You were thick as thieves, the two of you, between the chocolate and the coffee talk. And she loved your cup of coffee. And I was like, yeah, my dad taught me how to make coffee, and my grandmother taught me how to make, and we were just thick as thieves, her and I. But I did this when my little Yorkie died, both of them. And my little Honor was going on 19 years old. And I think I've said this, and if this is the first time that you're here, no one prepares you for losing a pet that you've had that long. The only thing that they say to you is, oh my God, you were so lucky you had your pet for so long and you gave him such a good life. And yeah, I did. And then there's that hole that is left that, it's just like no one prepared me for that. I'm going to take a break. Hello again. And if you are a little emotional because you have had the same experience, my heart is heavy for you, trust me, and your loss. And so as you can see, it feels fresh. And so what I did when my little Yorkie died was, again, with these little candles, I put his little picture and I put one of those little candles on and I leave it. And when you get a new candle, it's fresh and bright and shiny. And every time I walk by that candle, it was just a reminder of my little boy, my little Yorkie, Honor. And then as the candle starts to fade, it's a symbol. I believe that this is a Native American tradition, that your loved one is moving away from you and going where they have to go, right? That candle stayed lit for 3 weeks. And every time I thought it was out, I'd look at it and it'd be just like this dim little light. Like he was so far away from me, but not totally gone. And then one day it went out and I went over to it and I cried like a baby over it, and then opened my eyes and it was flickering again. So it was a lot, but it was comforting. It was kind of like he was coming back to say, I'm okay, but then leaving again, in my mind. So in my mind, when I would see that candle, flickering back on, it was like, oh, him coming back to me and saying, I'm okay. I'm far away, but I'm okay. So that is two ways that I use a candle for a meditation and to ignite the fire, but also using the candle to release. And another way during the winter months of stoking that fire within to keep us warm and cozy is the ultimate creative fire for me, is breath work. And I think we've done Nadi Shodhana, where we're breathing in one nostril and then the other. And we did, when I did a little yin yoga with you guys, the 3 essential poses that I do every day. And you can even do those postures in bed. Like, you could prop yourself up in bed to do the heart bench, and you certainly can do a forward fold while you're in bed, and you certainly can bend from side to side when you're laying in bed. So you could do those in bed also, those 3 postures. But we did a little bit of a ujjayi breath when I did those 3 essential poses, and that's the warrior breath. And that gently warms the body. And we use it a lot when we do vinyasa to stoke that fire and that energy. I'm trying to get away from the candle. But I'd like for you to practice this with me now, with its as its full potential. And being that we're trying to ground and support, if you can find a chair, something that would support your back, or maybe sit up against a wall, or maybe you're sitting up in bed, you could do this also. I, of course, have my little yoga blanket underneath my seat so that I am balanced. Relax your shoulders, let them drop down, and relax your back. It's so comforting to feel something behind your back. Even if it's just the back of a chair or if it's a wall, it's so comforting to feel something behind you. And find your breath. So by finding your breath, put a hand on your chest, put a hand on your belly. And I want you just to breathe naturally. Like I said, nothing. You just organically just put your hand on your chest and a hand on your belly, and find your breath. Which hand is moving? If it is the hand on your chest, you're breathing in the upper part here. And that can cause anxiety, because what happens when we find ourselves worrisome or anxious, we breathe up here. We can't seem to get the breath full and get the breath down. So bring your breath down so that you feel your belly moving out on the inhale and in on the exhale. And when we practice ujjayi breath, it's done with the mouth closed. And we create a sound with our breath that sounds like Darth Vader. And if you're unfamiliar with Darth Vader, like I was, my husband cannot believe the movies that I have not seen. It sounds like fogging up a window. When you go, when you go to clean your glasses, that's the sound that it's going to make. And how you create that sound, mouth closed. You're going to inhale. You're going to kind of pull the breath down. You'll feel your belly expand. And as you exhale, bring the belly in towards the spine, and exhale, pushing the breath out through the nose. So it sounds like this. Now you try it. Again, remember to have your hand on your belly, and it's the hand on the belly that's moving. The belly is expanding on the inhale, and then you're bringing it in as you exhale so that you can push that air out. So this breath warms the body, and it soothes the nervous system. I believe it's the sound is very calming to the nervous system. It kind of sounds like an ocean wave breaking on the shore. And it stimulates that energy without agitation. This is so nice to do at your desk when you need a little pick-me-up, but also I'm cold most of the time. My thyroid runs low, and My hands are always cold. My husband said to me the other night, I'm calling it, you've died. You're you're so cold. Your hands are always so cold and your feet are always stuck. I'm like a block of ice. But when I do this breath, it gets things moving. When you pull that breath in through the nose, that's a burst of pure oxygen. Runners do this. If you've ever noticed them go, that's pure oxygen coming into the body, making its way into the nucleus of the cell, and you'll feel a little brighter, and you'll feel a little bit, like a pick-me-up. You can practice this breath for as long as you like. At least do at least 10 rounds. So that can help you, even just feeling supported with your back up against the wall or up against a chair. It can ground you when you're starting to feel overly anxious, or when things are, like I said, I get overstimulated. I can't have too many things in my vision, or I get overstimulated. So we talked about, the candle meditation. We talked about journaling, and again, that creative fire, when you're writing things down, the creative fire, and especially with the artist way and that stream of consciousness writing, and then all of a sudden, like, things that you might be writing are not making sense, and then they all come together, and it's like fragments of ideas that need to find each other, and then it's like, oh wow, that makes sense. But also the writing to burn up, to make way, to make space. And then again, like when you're done with that writing and you want to take it outside and you want to light a little match and do a little ceremony and just saying, listen, I'm releasing this. It could be writing about a bad relationship. It could be, writing about a painful experience. It could be writing about things that you want to let go of, that you do, that you don't want to do anymore, like that little list that we had made. It could be forgiving yourself for something, or are you ready to forgive someone else for something, and then you just you put it to the fire and you let the fire transform it for you. So we talked about breath work, and we talked about writing, and we talked about the creative fire using a candle. And again, finding a movement is part of your self-care, and finding a practice like yin and restorative yoga that are done on the ground, grounding experience. We're being pushed down to the ground anyway. These are practices that are restorative, of course, restful, calming to the nervous system. You're giving your senses a break. Anytime you can close your eyes during a yin yoga practice or a restorative practice, and turn off the stimulus that you see, and maybe just I try not to use the word focus in my yoga classes, because I'm giving you something to do, but be aware of. And I just, as soon as I said aware, my ears literally released down, because I talked about this also in another video, where ever since I had my child, my ears have been pinned. They're you can see them moving. They're pinned back. I was always listening for my son where he was, and they haven't released until I say aware, and then all of a sudden it's so ingrained in me to just be aware. Like, I can hear now the flickering of the candle, because I have one of those woodwick candles, and they make that little crackling noise, and the gentle music in the background, the Victorian Christmas carols that are playing. But and not all the other stuff that's going on that kind of filters out. And then, to feel the coziness of my scarf, and being down on the floor, and what the contact points of my body are on the floor, my back, the back of the hands, or maybe my palms are down, the heels on the floor, and just letting everything go, letting the skeletal system sink down. And if I give you one posture to do today, the hardest posture for me is Shavasana. And when I told my mentor that, and she's like, all that says to me is that you're going to be really good at teaching Shavasana. And she was right, because I went on this exploration, this expedition into Shavasana. And then my students would say to me, you give the best Shavasana. God, you really go through the entire body, because that's what I need to, really, my whole body would just fall into the ground. And I would just visualize it, just all my bones falling down to the ground, and my muscles releasing, and really being aware of the contact points that were touching the body, and how they felt, and if I felt warm enough, and I certainly want to feel warm enough. And the back of my head, and letting it fall into its natural space. So if I can do anything for you today, I would say take a moment, get down on the floor. If you have a yoga mat, perfect. If you don't, get a blanket, lay it down on the floor. Have a little folded blanket. You don't want your head too propped up, unless you feel anxious. If you're a person that is like a type A personality, and like laying down just makes you feel anxious and you got to get back up, certainly don't lay all the way down on the floor. Prop yourself up a little bit, but take this time, honor this time in the dark to rest and relax. Because when those summer months come in and the daylight is longer, and you're looking out the window and it's like 8:30 at night and the sun is just going down, it just keeps us more active. So honor this time to come down to the earth, to go dormant, to rest and relax, even if it's just halfway. I get it. So just lay down, let go of the breathing, come into your own natural breath. Put something behind your head, like a little folded blanket, but don't have your chin up. Make sure it's tucked down. And then just let everything go. Maybe your palms are up, maybe your palms are down. If you feel like your shoulders are too much in your ears, move your hands further away from your hips. Let your feet relax. Let them fold in or flop out. Think about the parts of the body that are like touching the ground, the backs of your heels, the backs of your thighs, your buttocks. Maybe there's a little curve in your back. Maybe you want to take a little something that you can put in that curve of your back if it would feel good. Maybe you want to put something behind your knees to flatten that curve out, and just let your feet dangle instead. And then you relax the belly. You relax the rib cage and the backs of the shoulders. Feel those little wings relax down. Widen the collarbones and relax the face. Release the jaw. Open the mouth a little bit. Let your tongue drop down from the roof of the mouth. Separate the teeth everywhere that we can create space. Relax the face. Relax the eyebrows. Relax the jaw. Release the ears. And just come into that breathing. Even if you want to do a slight Ujjayi breath, if that felt calming to you and you want to focus on that sound that sounds like an ocean, maybe you put a little music on in the background that you like, that's very gentle, instrumental. There's so many things that you can tune into, whether it's the little singing bowls, or I used to love, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a metal drum sound. If I can remember, I'll put a little link on the bottom. And there's so many other artists that I used to love that would just have a gentle, warming voice and a relaxing voice. And, allow the eyes to just close and put something on the eyes. If it's a washcloth or an eye pillow, just, I would say imagine like you have another set of eyelids closing, but something weighted on the eyes feels so nice. And then there's that spot behind everybody's head. It's like a little divot where the head gently, naturally relaxes. So if you take your head from side to side and like you do this like slow rock until you finally stop, your head is going to stop right where that divot is, and just let it fall. You know, it might fall to the right, it might fall to the left. Just let it fall in that spot and just breathe. And rest and relax and restore your body. You could set a little timer on your watch for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just enough time to not fall asleep. Maybe you will, but we want to just give our nervous system a break of relaxation. And I think it's a perfect way to slow down, honor this time, to gently still stimulate without overstimulating or overtaxing the body, but also to ground our senses, especially during December. I mean, December, we're still full of excitement and running, and so we still have those warming qualities going on. Another thing was in a yin practice, there are poses that can be warming, slightly warming, a little bit more intense. But they, you know, when I had looked up on the internet, like what would be some warming practices, warming postures in yin, what is considered warming. Like I know dragon is absolutely a warming. The name in itself says it all, right? Dragon. But they were all centering on the hips, like sleeping swan or saddle pose or shoelace pose. They're all a little bit more intense in the body. But if I wanted to bring more warming postures into my yin practice, I certainly would start with where the digestive fire is in the belly, and I would do twists. So that's something that I wanted to point out to you guys, is that when you read something, you have to practice this stuff and you have to see how it feels in your own body, which is why now I think I am a better yoga teacher than I was then, because, you know, even with being a yoga teacher and like saying like that I was practicing vinyasa during winter months and, you know, beating myself up about it, that I don't practice vinyasa at home and I just practice it when I have to teach a class. But, you know, I wasn't honoring the way that I felt because I was telling myself all the negative stuff. Like, well, maybe you're just feeling, well, I am feeling lazy. It's a winter month. It is heavier. It is damper. It is a downer. And it was like, well, you know, then you should do these, you know, a vinyasa practice to like lift your spirits. But it really wasn't. It was just making me feel more anxious. And you have to, you can take the information from someone else's experience, but it's not always going to be your experience. And then you can read something, but you have to try it out and see what actually works for you. Dragon, for me, I really would only do during a yang practice because it is so intense, and it you know, we also practice nonviolence in yoga, and I'm like, this does not feel like I'm practicing nonviolence against myself when I'm in this posture. It's so, oh my gosh. And then, you know, it's like, if you're competitive and then you have this competitive spirit and then the ego comes in, and it's like, well, what the heck are we doing here? Like, you know, you could just go down this rabbit hole of like, and so I've let all that go. I've let it go. And like I said, I think I'm a better yoga teacher than I was then. Now, the other thing that I didn't see represented in any of the ways that I wanted to honor, you know, warming the body would be food. Food is another self-care. And I think that it's a great time to experiment with spicier foods in our diet during this time. A little chili oil. I've got to put chili oil in everything. A little cinnamon in your coffee. That's a warming spice that can certainly bring that heat to the body without you know, don't cause yourself any heartburn or anything like that. But just something that makes you feel warm and cozy. I love Indian food and those spices. You know, 3 spices that are just a staple in my home are curry, coriander, and cumin. And I'll make turkey burgers, and they're going in there. All 3 of them. And they're 3 warming spices. And I'll even add a little cinnamon because I like a little sweet with my savory. And then I'll add a little bit of like peppers, chopped peppers in different colors, and chopped onions, which you can get in your supermarket. The onions are already chopped in the frozen section, and so are the peppers. And throw them into your turkey burgers. Or your tofu burgers, and you'll have one of the juiciest. And I actually put a little bit of olive oil in there too, or I could put a little grapeseed oil in there. I don't actually put it on the pan. I put it actually in my burgers, and I create these little. I don't even create like a round burger. I create more like the dome shape. I forget the name. It's actually a Greek name of what they're called. No, I don't want to murder it. I murder the English language. I'm not going to murder other languages too. But it looks more like the shape of my hand. And they just stay so juicy. And it's just warming, and all those spices are delicious. So maybe you look into incorporating some warming spices like nutmeg and cinnamon into your diet, or coriander or cumin or paprika into your diet. That's another way of honoring the fire, the creative, transformative fire that will give you space, light your way, and hopefully make this an enjoyable time of the year. I mean, we think of the winter, especially when we're in this part of the world, you know, where we have a change of seasons, as just being like, I hear people moan and complain, I miss my sandals, I want to go back on the beach. Well, you could take a trip, but I love being in the seasons. I lived in Florida year long, and I miss the snow, and I missed, you know, all those experiences of being cold and wearing cozy sweaters and coming back down and not always feeling like, oh, there's somewhere to go. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, I kind of cherish that there's a snowstorm and we can't get out and we're locked in. But I don't know if I will be wishing you a Merry Christmas on Monday. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. And now I have to call my husband and allow him back into the house. And let me know if you have any practices that you do during this time. You know, it doesn't have to be winter solstice practices, but any kind of rituals or ceremonies that you would like to share. I'm still trying to get, you know, my other social, what do they call it, links together. I'm still trying to, I'm like, as I write out all my classes, and I'm thinking this is a newsletter that I could put up, you know, on, I think Buy Me a Coffee, I think it is. You know, and then it's like, I have to put them on all the other, I'm even forgetting to put all my social links up at the end of every video. So, you know, you can always find me here. Create that world that you want to live in. You don't have to be at the effect of everything going on around you. You could be your own little hurricane, and you could be that center of it, and not the hurricane, but be the center of it where it's calm. You don't need to be at the effect of what is going on out there, because that's not the world. This is the world where you are, where you orbit. This is your world. So create the world that you want to live in, because I am doing it. I do it for me. I do it for my family, and I am doing it for you. Happy holidays. Stay safe. I'll see you soon. Bye.